They paid their business taxes. They paid their sales tax. They did programs for patients in need. They did all of the things that a dispensary should do in the state of Michigan. They are fighting for us.
Thank you. Thanks very much for showing up today. I really appreciate that. Thanks for coming out to show your support for patients in one of their darkest hours. I think I know what all of us here want today. We want an end to the confusion of the appeals court ruling and a return to order of convenient, safe access, a safe third option for patients, right? And in coming so far in so short a time, I would like to express my deep thanks and gratitude to a lot of people, so give me a few minutes here. I'd like to express my deep gratitude to the Honorable Judge Paul H. Chamberlain for recognizing that CA's patient-to-patient service model falls squarely within the written wording of the Act. I'd like to thank him for adhering to judicial objectivity instead of being influenced by politics. Finally, I'd like to thank Judge Chamberlain for not taking the easy way out and ruling in such a way that others would have shrunken from out of fear of being overturned. I'd also like to thank Dan O'Neill and John Lewis for representing us so well in front of Judge Chamberlain and for getting a patient's personal testimony on the record, because after all, that's the voice that needs to be heard, the patient's. And I'd like to thank all of you who showed CA your support in courtroom number 2 on August 17th and 18th. And a second large thank you to John Lewis for representing us in front of the Court of Appeals, where pretty much everyone knew the outcome before it even happened. Clearly, political reasons hold sway over reason sometimes, but we've faced larger obstacles in the past. And I'd like to thank Mary Chartier and Matt Newberg for writing what really is a genius plea, a genius piece of writing to the Michigan Supreme Court. Mary and Matt have written a fantastic plea to the Supreme Court of the state of Michigan, the highest court in the state, to protect your medicine. I'd also like to thank them for pointing out that Judge Chamberlain's decisions did not make all dispensaries legal. It was about patient-to-patient transfers, being clearly within the black and white of the Act, which they are. From there, each and every locality was welcome to engage in the democratic process of deciding how and where these transfers should take place, and in such a way that the community is comfortable with. Many cities, progressive local townships, began doing exactly that, creating a socially responsible medical marijuana policy that helped patients and caregivers while helping their community. Why should they be stopped by this confusion? They were doing the most democratic thing they could: read the law, utilize the law, make it work for the people. I'd also like to thank all the patients in Michigan for making me, Brandon, and all the other caregivers here caregivers. I would like to thank the Michigan Association of Compassion Clubs, or MAC, and all other domestic contributors for paying for CA's appeal and supporting CA's appeal. Thank you. Thank you. That's really awesome. That's a show of unity, and the truth is that is exactly how we should be thinking right now. Gardening supply store owners, independent caregivers, patients, former and current dispensary owners in the same state, as confusing as that is, should all get together and bridge the last gaps between the medicinal community and the general public. We need to make this final push towards legitimacy together. And I say we should make this push together because we are all at a crossroads here in Michigan, not just patients and caregivers, all of us. All of us citizens have important decisions to make over the next 4 years. Are we going to live up to the dictates of democracy that our nation's founders fought so hard for by making this voter-mandated initiative work for the people? Or are we going to shrink from democracy out of fear of new things and unjust stigma? Remember, democracy is a system that employs the will of the majority peacefully, reasonably, practically, and in such a way as to cause no undue harm to those who voted in the minority. Democracy is acceptance of a perceived loss in voting, law, or the courts. I believe in democracy, and I believe in local control. That's why we informed the sheriff and the city manager before we opened. That's why we asked them to give us this chance to make Mount Pleasant proud. And had the Honorable Judge Chamberlain's ruling been accepted and respected, as opposed to appeal, local control would be the rule instead of the exception. There was no reason to set state precedent against local control by appealing this decision. And there is certainly no reason for CA's opponents to set state precedent against patients' rights when a voter initiative dictating exactly the opposite was mandated by 63% of the people. Remember, democracy is a system where the will of the majority is defended and protected. And when it comes to medical marijuana, the voters have spoken loud and clear. Some of the voters can be fooled some of the time, but 63% of the voters can never be fooled all of the time. So I'll say it again. Patients, your suffering is legitimate suffering, and the services we offered to alleviate that suffering were legitimate services. So over the next few years, we have these choices to make. Are we really going to allow a voter initiative that we all passed together to be deconstructed and gutted by a small minority that refuses to accept democratic defeat gracefully? I say no, and so do the dictates of democracy. Another choice. Do we want big capital, out-of-state people to move in, or do we want to promote Michigan's unique cottage industry model that is a step forward? That's right. Let's make Michigan a leader, a national leader, as we should always strive to be. Got lost here. Can we finally admit together here today, regardless of political party affiliation, that the words professional and medical marijuana are not mutually exclusive? The words legitimate and patient services are not mutually exclusive. The words socially responsible and medical marijuana are not mutually exclusive. And the words medicinal agriculture and profit are not mutually exclusive. I very sincerely hope that CA's case before the Supreme Court finally allows us all peaceful law-abiding members of the medicinal community what we want: acceptance, legitimacy, an end to discrimination, and the reopening of the safe third option. I'm asking all of you here today to help me, help you, help CA, help Michigan, help everyone steer back towards the democratic and innovative roots that made this a great nation. Help us get back to where we belong by supporting this appeal. Got lost again. I want to tell you a little bit more about CA now that I have the chance to, but first I want to address the catalyst for all these changes we see going on around us now. Do you guys remember 2008? How many people showed up to vote? To me, it didn't even matter who they voted for. It was amazing that there was a line that long. I went to the high school. It was shoulder to shoulder. It was around the corner, and people were excited and enthusiastic. And the reason that so many people showed up is because they knew we had a lot of work to do. And we still have a lot of work to do today, obviously. There's a lot of hard choices to make over the next 4 years. And it's going to decide whether we're true democratic Americans willing to stand up for what we know is right, or whether we're going to tuck our tails in and hide and let a small minority dictate to us who can have medicine, where they can have medicine, how they can have medicine. No. Part of getting Michigan back on track was decided democratically by 63% of Michigan voters who said that medical marijuana services are a legitimate option for Michigan citizens, a needed service for patients, and a legitimate opportunity for the state of Michigan to embrace boldly. Democracy means accepting the will of the majority when you suddenly find yourself in the minority. Democracy does not mean gutting a voter-passed initiative. That's a smack in the face to democracy. And that smack in the face to democracy is what we see people protesting in many different parts of the nation right now, in many different parts of the world right now, and I assure you, these people are from both, all, and every party, and every walk of life. In 2008, we knew there was a lot left to accomplish. Nothing has changed now. There is a lot left to accomplish. And the outcome of CA's case will say much about the state of democracy in Michigan today. So I hope you support us. Thank you very much.